taught waza in the scroll, do you need to go to a master to find it, or is it written down? How do you?
Well, first of all, you need to understand that classical martial art never start from the beginning. They never start in a written things. It's not something you written. It's like faith. It's not something you written, something you believe, something you do. It's an action. Then, in the history of classical martial art, will come some master. Some have a talent to explain, or can explain, or have different words to explain the transmission, and they're gonna write down in a makimono or a densho. And those masters who's going to write this, they're going to write this according, let's say, the filter. If, for example, they were study Buddhism, esoteric, Mikkyo, Zen, Rinzai, Soto, Jodoshu, etc., etc. Or they may be Shinto, or they love maybe poetry, and according that influence and what they like, what they have been touched, they're going to use those words. And those words, of course, they are connected with the practice. Sometimes they have no relation with the practice. So this is very important to keep in mind, to not get trapped into the word, to not get trapped into the name. Most of the time, the name, the word, will automatically limit your vision instead of being wide and have the capacity to adapt yourself in any kind of situation. You're going to work, it's just like that, the name said like this. So that's a very important thing. So if you said omote waza, ura waza, omote, it's quite large in Japanese. Omote means also to present, to show. So we look at the technique of omote waza like the technique you use for teaching in a certain kind of audience, wide audience. And the ura waza, already the name ura in Japanese, you can find in uragiri, which means to betray, ura, from behind, giri, cut, so cut from behind. You can see that the meaning of ura is this. Everything that uraken, shuriken, the ri of shuriken, it's the blade which is hidden. So ura have this aspect of hidden, not completely clear, something you cannot see, sometimes also a little bit twisted, a little bit vicious too. So, but both, it's like the right and the left. In the Kamizumi Senokami Kagemokuroku Densho, written in 1563, he talked about the Kentai Hyori. So Hyori, Omote and Ura. Kentai, Ken is all the things that deals with attack, rush, launch an attack, and Tai, it's everything that deals with the aspect of waiting, expecting. So you need to be able to shift the states between what is seen and unseen, what is waiting and what is attacking. And each technique presented as a fighting technique have those two aspects already inside. There is aspects that are made for teaching, but even when you teach them, they are not understood yet, because you need a certain time, a certain experience in order to understand what goes beyond the communication. Ura, they are not the technique made for communication. They are the technique that goes right away. Sometimes they are a small aspect in the omote waza that you don't really pay attention. Sometimes complicated, sometimes not complicated, sometimes that goes fast, sometimes that goes directly to the point. Now, how you get to that? First, the same way you were initiated to the regular technique. It's all about your heart. All about your heart. The disposition of your heart, the nature of your heart, let's say, yes, the nature of your intention. If we look in the 14th century, 15th century, classical martial art have a very important, it's a social things. You know, you're a warrior. It's a social position in the Japanese history. And teaching an art, I think I explained this many times to someone, it's taking a big risk. You teach to someone who might use the technique to kill you back. And between warrior, between daimyo and future shogun, killing a son, killing a father, turning against a cousin, was something very natural in those days. There was tactical, there was survival. Well, this state of mind have shaped the practice of martial art, have shaped the technique. So you need to be careful on what you teach, what you do, and the way you do. Nowadays, when you know how deep the responsibility is to teaching to kids, to teenagers, you have to take care on what you say, the way you say, how you do, the way you do. So here also you can see on this an aspect of omote and ura. That practically, each school have omote and ura. Sometimes they are written down, sometimes they are not written down. Sometimes it's not necessary to written down as long as you don't know the first technique. Sometimes they are something that you find by yourself through the image of the master and the transmission you receive. And if you follow correctly and slowly and surely the practice and the art, sooner or later you are always in involution. You always involve, and involve allow you to explore. Explore allow you to test, to try, and then you work by elimination. You keep what is useful, but at the same time what is useful today won't be tomorrow. So that's why you have to stay open. Omote and ura are not fixed. That's what is important to keep in mind. Even if sometimes fixing the things or crystallize the things allow you to teach them, to understand them. But I guess it's the same like in Buddhism Zen, when you can use many, at the moment you think it is, there is no. When you think you grasp it, there is no. There is this phrase that Hatsumi Sensei said many times that you can find in many scrolls, like aru tomoeba nashi, nai tomoeba aru. If you think there is no. And if you think there is not, there is. So for all the people who think there is no weaponry in Gyokoryu, well, there is. And if you think there is not, so same for urawaza, same for omotewaza. Then after it's all about the talent, the love of the art, and the trust you have from your master.